Well, this week's the last time you get to play at McHale. How would you summarize just your experience at McHale over the last few years?
It's a great experience, man. It's always loud in there. The fans are great. It's just you're gonna miss it, man. Playing in an environment like this is all a kid ever dreams of, and being able to play in here for 4 years has been a blessing.
Did you visit here before you transferred here?
Nah, never been here. On my visit, it wasn't my plan to commit. I committed on my visit, so my parents, they didn't even want me to come out here at first until they got out here and met the coaching staff. So when I got here, we just kind of fell in love with it.
What's the difference in later game possessions when you guys make the choice to kind of pull it back and run a little clock as opposed to trying to get a quicker shot? How do you guys go through that? And do you feel in any way that that can be hard to adjust to after the tempo for the whole game?
That's actually one of the best questions I got. It's about feel for the game. It's just real. It's real difficult to gauge it when you have such a young team. You got a young PG. He's still learning, and he does a great job of controlling the pace and the tempo. And we just try to do what we feel is like best with the flow of the game. Really, if we feel like we could get a quick good shot or a quick great shot, we're all for it. But if it's not, we just try to pull it back out and run some clock, play the right way. In the UCLA game, it was some late turnovers. But it comes with being a young team, and we could bounce back and learn from those, especially in March. I feel like this team will be ready, because we have all the different types of learning experiences you need to go far in March. And if you remember last year, the Oregon team that went far in the tournament, they weren't ranked. They were at the bottom of the pack. But we're not even at the bottom. We're mid-level, even could be top 4 if we went out this week. So it's just all about learning from our mistakes, and putting it together in March and hopefully winning some games.
Is it the type of situation like earlier in the season, the narrative was you guys couldn't win on the road, and then you won 4 straight? Do you have to win a close game, you think, in order to get over?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, we're always 2 or 3 plays away from winning, and it's just all of them have been different type of learning experiences. Like Gonzaga is don't beat yourself. Baylor is you have to learn how to get stops and play smart basketball at the end of the stretch. UCLA, kind of the same thing. Oregon, it's just about getting stops at the end, and it's just all like once we figure it out and get over that hump, just like how it was with the road thing at first, we'll be fine. And I feel like the tournament and the pressure of the tournament, I feel like guys will step up and make plays at the end, as we're capable of.
How different was it without Josh out there?
It was different. He brings a defensive edge that we have. He's very aggressive on defense. He plays extremely hard. Scoring-wise, he gets it done as well. So just having that attack from him and that aggression, it's obviously missed, but we have multiple good players. We had UCLA beat, and they're one of the top teams in the conference. It's just we didn't finish, and we've lost games with them as well where we didn't finish. So everybody has a next man up mentality. So not having them obviously hurt. It could have only helped them having us, but we're just happy to get them back this week and going forward.
What's your number one memory playing in McHale?
When we won the regular season championship and how happy the whole arena was. I didn't even think we won it outright. I think we shared it. I don't even remember. It seemed like so long ago, but it just going up into the crowd, going up in the Zona Zoo, high-fiving all the fans. That was just one of my favorite experiences here. And
What are you hoping to get out of these last 2 games?
just playing, man. It's my last 2 home games, but it's just basketball, man. Obviously, I'm gonna miss playing here, but I just gotta go get a win, man. If we get 2 wins, it'll be a great way to top my career off in McHale.
A lot of this roster is going to be going through the senior night activities. What's been the conversation like between you guys, all knowing that as a collective group, a lot of you guys won't be together next year?
Yeah, it's funny because we got so many different types of people. I've been here for 4 years. Chase has been here for 2. Stone and Matt's coming in off grad transfers and stuff like that. Then we got a couple walk-ons who are seniors, Jake, Corey, and guys like that. It's just funny to talk about it and how all how much we went through in this whole process and how it's grown, how it's made us grow as men and even basketball players, and it just was fun to be around each other. So it's not really as much like, oh, we're talking about it. It's just like we're just trying to live in the moment and try to get as many wins as possible.
Do you feel like just in general, winning, having a good showing at home, how important is that? I mean, because you've actually turned maybe almost to a team that's been playing better on the road.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to learn how to stay focused, whether we play at home or on the road. I mean, every team we play, they want to beat us. We're every team Super Bowl almost. It seems like you go to UCLA, sold out house. I know they've been getting some criticism from their fans. I wouldn't doubt it, since they're not as good as some of the UCLA teams have been. I mean, you go to USC, they have a packed house. It's loud. It normally doesn't get like that there. They come here, they play their hardest. Everybody wants to get a win in here. So I think our young guys are figuring that out too, that everybody wants to give us their best shot. And as long as we're prepared for it, it can be anyone's game. Anybody can be beat, but we'll give ourselves the best chance to win. Bless you.
You guys took care of Washington State pretty good up there. What do you remember about that game? And was there something about that matchup?
What I remember, we didn't necessarily shoot it well. We just defended very well. They had one of the best players in the conference, and C.J. Ellaby, and the point guard Bonton. Bonton. Both of them are really good players, and it's just hard. They're the head of the snake, and we basically cut them off. I mean, we forced them into I think like 8 turnovers between the two of them. And it was just, we played extremely hard, even though like the shots wasn't falling. We got Zeke the ball. He produced good shots for everybody once he gets the ball, as Coach Miller always says. So we just played as a complete team in Washington, and against Washington, playing against their zone is going to be a big thing because they force a lot of turnovers. We're just coming off a game where we turned it over like 8 or 9 times in the last 4 minutes. So that's a big emphasis in practice for us, taking care of the ball, especially in crunch time situations, if the game does get to that situation.
I know you said it's about team in a lot of ways, but when a guy like Ellaby comes in here, I mean, you know you're going to be a big part of defending.
Yeah, I mean, we're running Josh at him, myself. I think Jamal might be guarding some. It's just all about guarding him as a team, and obviously the individual that's on him will have a big task and a big job. And I feel like if we stick to our game plan and use team defense to our advantage, we should come out with the win again.
Anything else? All right, thanks.
Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah, my blood's thinned out here.
So going back to the UCLA game and the ejection, I mean, what happened just in that moment?
You know, I regret that I got kicked out. Obviously, it took almost 550 games for that to happen to me. But you know, that's not going to help our basketball team. I owe our team more. The fact that we spotted UCLA 3 points and that they converted 3 of the 4 technical free throws, that's a detriment to winning and, you know, putting everybody in a tough position, our staff, the players, et cetera. And I certainly regret it. I will say, you know, in the time that I was there on the bench and certainly reviewed the game closely multiple times, you know, it's just it was a game that falls into the category of many games of this year for us, and that, you know, if you think about it, with as much at stake and playing the game without a starter, Josh Green, and going 31 minutes of basketball of the 40, having 5 turnovers. You know, it's really hard to do in the beginning of March at UCLA, playing for you know, Pac-12 championship and all the different things that game meant. And having 5 turnovers and really leading the game for a long period of time, there's a lot of great things that you can point to. But, you know, it's a head scratcher that in the final 9, we had 8 turnovers and, you know, came unraveled, unglued. And, you know, it's a shame. Obviously, with 2.5 minutes to go, I think we were up 4 with UCLA's ball under their own basket. Up 4 doesn't mean anything. It's just, you know, 1-2 possession game, 2.5 minutes. But, you know, I think all of us feel that we didn't finish as well as we want to. And, you know, whether it's a last second play where we have the ball, whether it's a defensive play where we have to get the ball, rebound or get a stop, you know, it's just we've probably been in 4, 5, 6 of those, and they haven't bounced our way. Maybe one has. And yet most of our wins came in a convincing fashion. So it's just kind of an odd 19 win, 10 losses. Clearly the upside is closer to being, you know, 22-7, 21-8 than it is the other way. But all of that just really points towards what we can control, and that's this week, 2 home games, and having an opportunity to get our 10th and potentially 11th win in a very good conference, win 2 games here at home, win over 20 wins on our regular season, and head towards Las Vegas, hopefully with a healthy team and a team that's confident in playing well. We're certainly capable of beating anybody on our schedule. That's for sure.
I know it's been a while now, but I was just curious what you said to Petit at the end, because it didn't look like you were terribly animated. You just were talking to him, and then he teed you up.
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly rubbed them the wrong way, and you know, that's really all my comment. I don't want to get suspended or fined, and it's over with. Like I said, the thing that I regret the most is that I wasn't able to be there for the final 12 minutes. Our team deserves better. You know, everybody deserves better, and like I said, I've coached almost 550 games, and I've gotten ejected once, and that was the other night. You know, hopefully it never happens to me again.
Did you look over a lot of the plays and the calls? Because, for example, when we called for the first technical, Richard Jefferson even said on the air, he said maybe Sean got a different angle, but didn't look like a foul. He even said at one point, I wish I could wave to Sean and tell him it's not a foul. I don't know if you looked at that and thought maybe I did have the wrong angle, or...
No, maybe I missed that. I mean, from my perspective, I thought Nico got fouled, and if he didn't, you know, I was wrong.
What's the status of Josh?
You know, we practiced yesterday, and he was a part of our practice. Our practice yesterday, because it was Monday and it's so late in the year, we didn't do much. So I'll know more here over the next couple of days. But as always, for us, it's, you know, 2 parts: the best interest and health of our individual player, and we have the best doctors that college basketball offers, and a trainer that's been here for over 18 years. So, you know, you as the head coach, you rely on them first and foremost. And then once you figure out and you get, you know, their expert opinion on on the health and well-being of the athlete, then it really falls on the athlete. You know, each of these guys is different. They're all at a different age. Each injury represents different challenges. You know, some guys like to fight through. Other guys, you know, want to be closer to 100%. So, you know, the second is we have to listen to the student athlete as well. And, you know, the reason that we didn't bring Josh to Los Angeles was just simply it was in his best interest of improving health-wise, you know, to not get back at 3 a.m. like we did, not be on flights and in different hotels, but be here and work on his rehab and try to make a full recovery. So that was the reason he was here, and I think that was a really good decision, although it's always difficult, you know, when a player is separated from the team for 4 days like that, 5 days. But hopefully he'll be with us, and but you know, we have to play the players that are healthy and the players that are able to play. It's what we've always done, and I think that's fair to everybody.
So is it more about a treatment program or rest?
A little bit of both, yeah, a little bit of both. But he was able to work with the people here and also you know, recover by not doing anything.
From your standpoint, is he cleared? Is just maybe a pain or a comfort issue with him as far as when he comes back?
Yeah, no, he had a lower back situation. I don't know, injury. I don't really know how to word it as much as, you know, he had some discomfort and potentially some pain and spasm in his lower back. And from what I can tell, it seems like that's eliminated. Like I said, he took part in everything that we did yesterday. We just didn't do any contact. So not until we were able to go up and down and go against each other will, I think, all of us know how much he can help. And most importantly, he has to feel comfortable. If he doesn't feel comfortable, obviously he has a very bright future, and that's way more important than today's practice.
What's your thoughts on Washington State and maybe, and not only that, but just, you know, a couple of home games here to finish out, and, you know, how important that is for a team that's kind of been better on the road, actually, a little bit.
Yeah. No, well, first, Washington State, you know, I talked a lot about C.J. Ellaby before we played him the last time, and, you know, there was only a day in between our Washington and Washington State game on the road, so, you know, there wasn't a lot of talk about our game against Washington State, but I thought for us that was a very key performance for us this season. We played very well in that game. C.J. Ellaby is a terrific player. I watched Washington State versus Washington in the last game for both teams, and, man, he was spectacular. I mean, if you statistically look at what he's doing, 19 points a game, almost 8 rebounds a game, 49 steals, 22 blocks. He shoots 82% from the line, gets there a lot. Is an excellent three-point shooter. He shot 450 shots for his team. You know, they depend on him a lot, and he's delivered. I believe that he's one of the most talented players in our conference, and I don't mean one of the top 15, but, you know, he's more towards one of the top 5 players, top 7 players in our conference, and our conference is very, very talented this year. But he's a very good player, and Isaac Bonton, who, you know, came to Washington State, junior college transfer. You could see the difference in their team when he's been injured. They played a couple games without him, and, you know, they weren't nearly as good. But he's a very, very good player. Again, 100 assists on the season. He averages 15 points a game. A lot like Ellaby, does a little bit of everything, defense, offense. And you combine those two, you know, they combine for about 34 points per game on the season. So, you know, it starts with how we defend those two guys. They're capable of having big nights. When they've had big nights together, I mean, they've beaten Oregon, they've beaten UCLA, they've beaten Arizona State, they've won at Washington. I mean, they're a very well-coached, tough-minded team. They depend on the three-point shot as much as any team that we play, and you have to defend the three. That's dangerous in and of itself because they shoot the ball from a variety of positions. They depend on it a lot, and when they have a big night from three, as they did against Washington, they're an explosive basketball team. You know, defensively, they pressure, they force turnovers, and those turnovers allow them to get out in transition and shoot the three-point shot. And both Ellaby and Bonton are excellent players in transition. So their defense leads to their offense. They play at a breakneck speed. That's the other point. I think, them, ASU, probably maybe USC, Washington, I don't know kind of off the top of my head, but they play at the fastest pace of the teams in our league. They're in the upper echelon. So they're not a walk-it-up group. They're not a passive defensive team. They're not a team that doesn't rely on the three. All the things are opposite. Super aggressive on defense, play at a breakneck speed, shoot the three-point shot, and utilize it as well as any team in our league. And both Bonton and Ellaby can play on any team in the country. And I cannot say enough good things about C.J. Ellaby. He's a special player.
Is getting a top 4 seed in the Pac-12 tournament something you emphasize to your team?
First we want to compete for the conference championship, and then, secondly, you certainly would love to get a conference a bye in that first round. Playing on Wednesday in some ways, almost in every way, in my opinion, helps you for Thursday's game. It gives you a chance to come off of a win, get confidence, play in that arena under those circumstances, and quickly move to day 2 where, that other team, although they're maybe rested, on a one-day turnaround, I don't think that's a big advantage. Where you really feel the negative of playing on Wednesday is if you're trying to win the tournament. And winning 4 games in 4 days is a tall task. Winning 3 games in 3 days is very difficult, but certainly I think there's a big advantage if you have the bye in terms of winning the tournament. In terms of winning 2 games, playing on Wednesday, I think is an advantage for the other team.
Based on what you've seen from your team, is winning the conference tournament realistic at this point?
We've played toe-to-toe with, every team really on our schedule. And if we haven't in one aspect, in Game 2, we've played much, much better against those teams. Certainly, I think that we have the ability, but we have to be healthy. We have to play well. Our ability to score and shoot is a concern. That's not the strength of our team. And we have to shoot the ball well and score. When we shoot it well and score, that's when I think we've been at our best this season.
What goes into the decision to kind of run clock and pull it out a little bit late in games, particularly when you're in the lead? A couple of these games where you guys have had a lead late and been unable to hold it with the turnovers, it seems like you're running a little bit more clock before getting into the shot. How do you go about deciding when to do that?
I mean, that's just simple math. That's not why we lose at the end. I mean, the shot either goes in or doesn't. You get a shot or you turn it over. You get a second shot. Whether shooting quick is insane. It is. It's you play with the lead. You want to be a smart team. That's what the best programs in college basketball have done for 100 years.
All the guys that maybe playing their last home games here this week, Dylan's been around the longest. I mean, I was just kind of wondering if you could reflect a little bit on kind of how he's grown since you've had him over.
Yeah, Dylan, he's a fighter. He's been here at a unique time in our program, and he shows up every day. And I know that doesn't seem like that's a big compliment. That could be the biggest compliment a coach can pay a player. And that when I say showing up every day, what I mean is he works at it. He doesn't miss. He practices. He practices if he doesn't play well. He practices if it doesn't go well for our team. He shows up in the spring and the summer, and he works. He has stayed with it. He has stayed with it academically. I think he's grown as a student. He leaves here not only with a degree, but he's added a minor towards his undergraduate education as well, which is really what this is about in so many ways. As a person, he's more mature. He's grown. And as a basketball player, defensively, he's our team's best perimeter defensive player. And there's a lot that goes into that. And, he has had his struggles at times, but so has our team. But he's a fighter, and, the one thing that you always want to have the peace of mind as a coach is that, the player is giving his 100%, that he cares a lot about our program, the team, and his performance. And I would say that, Dylan checks the box in all of those ways.
He said he didn't have that defensive mentality when he came. He was mostly a shooter at Asheville. And when did you see that? Like, I know his redshirt year, he was playing against Kadeem, I guess, a lot, or on that team in practice, and then, or maybe the following year when.
He did it last year at times. We were obviously undermanned a year ago, so it was hard to see. But, sometimes a year ago, Dylan guarded a power forward, like he would guard Benny Boatwright. We played at UCLA last year. He would have guarded, heck, he might have guarded Moses Brown last year. I don't know. Felt that way. But this year he's guarded, the other team's best perimeter player. And, he's done the very best that he could. And when you challenge players to fill a certain role, you judge them on their intent. Is his intentions to do the best that he can? And I think Dylan's intentions have been very, very good. And so he's been the one guy who's been here for 4 years. I also just want to touch on this, that our senior day ceremony will be different for the first time. I just think that there's a number of reasons to change it now. Coach Olson established a way of doing it after a game, which I really, really loved for a long period of time. And it's not about whether you win or lose the last game. It's more along the lines of everything's over, and it's a good feeling to be able to celebrate with the families of those that have been here and have sacrificed and given your program a lot. But I think last night on my radio show, I counted there'll be potentially 16 players and managers that won't be a part of our program next year that are leaving. And a lot of our seniors have been here for 9 months. And so, Dylan's the one senior that's been here for 4 years. So, a while back, when you celebrate Sean Elliott's great career, and he's kind of came in as a youngster, and you watched him grow from his freshman to a sophomore, junior, senior year. That's what senior night was at that moment. It's not that anymore, just because there's an assortment of different careers. Somebody like Stone Gettings is a senior, and we really appreciate him and love what he's done for our program. Max Hazard, ditto for him. But those two have been here for kind of a short burst, right? And then you have some underclassmen that might not return, or that this could be their last game as well. So because of that, and then also, our game against Washington is an 8:30 start. So if you do the math on that, you're talking about a post-game ceremony that could begin at 11 p.m. I don't know if that's fair to anybody. So I think for us to do it prior to the game, it's right in the year 2020. And it's also for our fans just to make sure that they know that we will do the ceremony prior to the tip-off on Saturday. And that's the reason. No other reason. It's not because we're worried about winning or losing, or we don't value this group as much as others. That's the furthest from the truth. It's just like a lot of things, you have to adjust to the times. And I think moving this senior ceremony before the tip-off, which I would say maybe 90% of college basketball does anyway, I think it has its rightful place in our season, and it's the right thing for all parties.
Was this always a plan in place, or was this
Yes.
just recent? Okay.
I think really I started to, and we talked about it as far back as last spring, just because of all the reasons that I just gave. And I think if you step back and think about what I'm saying, it's not a slight in any way. Believe me, that's not the reason. To those that will play their last game, it's just there's a lot of different things going on, and I think doing it prior to tip and maybe emphasizing the game more is what this is about.
Does it make sense to even call it senior day anymore? Because
No, you could make the case. Yeah, no, you could make the case that that could be in the future as well. But we are calling it a senior day because the other part of it, from the academic perspective, we have a really talented group. You have Chase Jeter, who has an undergraduate degree, who will finish his graduate degree maybe as early as this summer. Same for Stone Gettings, and Stone has his undergraduate degree from Cornell University. Max Hazard graduated from UC Irvine, and he's working on his grad degree right now. Exceptional student. Dylan, like I had mentioned, will graduate this spring with. He's added a minor to his major. If he wouldn't have, he would already have graduated. And then, you have Jake and Corey as well, who've been with us for 4 years. And, those two have been with us for 4 years, like Dylan. And, I can't say enough about those two guys, Jake and Corey, because, they sacrifice as much as anybody. And they work at it, and they're so important to our team's success. And we'll miss those guys for sure. But those two guys are also excellent students, and although they're walk-ons, they're no less important than our best player.
They both redshirted though for injuries, didn't they? And could they come back, or you don't expect them?
No, I think Jake's plan is he's going to finish in the Eller program this spring. I think he has 1 or 2 classes left. And then he is going to potentially, and I don't know if he's made up his mind, go the grad transfer route and play at maybe a lower level where he can contribute more. That's something that him and I have talked about. That's why I've not put him in the game. Corey just tore his ACL in Spain and missed an entire year because he was recovering. But Corey will graduate this year, and we don't expect him to return.
So you've said Nico's leaving. Obviously, everyone expects Josh and Zeke probably as well. Have they indicated for sure what's going on with them?
No, we won't really address that until the end of the season, and that's really the only fair way to do it. For us, it's to coach those guys, hold them accountable, allow them to be the best players that they can become, and enjoy the month of March, which college basketball, that's the biggest month of them all. So, that's our focus at that point when it all ends. Each of them will go their own way, and whatever they need from us, we're going to give it to them. But yeah, it's tough to put that as part of the equation before the last game ends. It's just, there's too much unknown.
Well, I remember like 2 years ago, you said something about Raleigh and DeAndre and Alonzo leaving at senior day, and so I'm wondering how do you handle that with this bunch?
Yeah, no, those guys. That was a different day and time, circumstances.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.